It's no secret at this point that the DeFi altcoin explosion is pushing the entire altcoin space forward, and even lending some bullishness to the majors like Ethereum and Bitcoin. It's a pretty magical time here in crypto land. We haven't seen growth like this in altcoins in almost 3 years. Yes, there was a mini bull run throughout early 2019, however, that focused almost exclusively on Bitcoin and can largely be seen as a retracement of the bear market, not necessarily a bull market in and of itself. Now, for the first time in what feels like forever, we've seen all the promising and innovative new blockchain startups start to show that they're more than just talk. They're more than just a few people messing around and making loans here. This new DeFi craze is here to stay, and it means business. They're locking up billions of dollars worth of real money in the system, and it's facilitating an entirely new type of financial activity done in a completely decentralized and peer-to-peer fashion. Today's project that we'll be discussing is no exception, as the AAVE protocol, formerly known as ETHLend, and its Lend token are set to ride high as this DeFi-fueled altcoin market continues to explode to new heights. Now, it's only been in the last week or two that we can really confirm fully that we're in an altcoin bull market. And for that reason, I think it would be foolish to think that this bull market is going to just end suddenly, even though the prices and the expansion of the market caps seem to be moving so dramatically that it would stand to reason there would be significant pullbacks in the near future. These projects are growing not simply based on math and reason. There's a highly emotional element to this new bull cycle. You have to understand that all bull markets are emotional in nature, and that's why sometimes seemingly ridiculous price targets are getting hit, just like it happened in the previous bull markets, where, for example, Tron went from 1/5 of a penny up to 30 cents, a gain of 150x, and it happened within the span of weeks. That stuff is going to happen again. And just like bull markets of the past, these tokens could fall again another 80, 90, sometimes 99% of their value. However, if you're able to ride the bull market up and sell at particular moments unemotionally, then you'll be able to cash in and actually create your own instant lunch off of this altcoin bull market. And bear in mind, with outsized gains comes outsized risk. But with all that said, let's dive in, because today we just got some very exciting news about the AAVE protocol that I think could lend itself to expanding not only the DeFi craze to new audiences, this could expand our understanding of how loans work in general. Today, we're going to be talking about how the AAVE protocol and the Lend token are set to truly explode throughout this DeFi altcoin season. We've just gotten the news that AAVE has launched a service for unsecured peer-to-peer loans. Lending protocol AAVE has launched a new service on Ethereum that makes it possible for users to take out loans without using collateral. This is a complete diversion from what was happening before. In a tweet, the founder and CEO, Stanley Kulechov, said AAVE is starting native credit delegation, CD. AAVE depositors can delegate their credit lines. For example, Karen deposits assets such as USDT to AAVE and delegates her credit line to Chad, who draws funds such as ETH from the AAVE protocol. So you can see that Karen's actual assets are now being delegated as credit to Chad. There's now an agreement between Karen and Chad on how this loan is supposed to be repaid. Now, this is huge because generally decentralized lending protocols require users to deposit substantially more collateral than they borrow. You would have to deposit $150 worth of Ethereum for every $100 in DAI, or US dollar equivalent, that they could borrow. Karen and Chad, on the other hand, would sign an actual legal agreement stipulating the terms of the loan, like interest rates and deadlines for repayment. This is all made possible through a partnership with OpenLaw, which is backed by consensus and essentially is bringing legal contracts to the blockchain, or to smart contracts. Having real automatically generated contract in place gives the weight of real world, not just the crypto world. If Chad doesn't honor the agreement, Karen can take him to court. Now, the implications for this are tremendous. Because if you could think about it, a collateralized loan is really not the way people do things in the real world. If I want to go get a house that, say it's $1 million, I need to put down probably about 20% of that value as a down payment. If you're doing the math, I've only got 1/5 of the actual value of the house in collateral, and I'm supposed to pay the rest off. The reason why I'm able to get the loan, though, is something called a credit score, or a credit evaluation, where the bank looks at me and says, Elio Trades, we think that you'll pay it back, we think you're going to honor your credit, and so we'll give you the extra assets. Now, that is really how things work in the That's how things work in the real world. In the crypto world, if I wanted the equivalent value of that $1 million house, I would need to put in and lock up 1.5 times the value as collateral. Why would I lock up 1.5 million to get a $1 million loan? It just doesn't have as much utility as a loan that's based on credit versus collateral. So this really opens the floodgates for entirely new audiences to get involved with crypto lending, or lending that's happening in decentralized way, decentralized finance. AAVE already supports up to 20 assets to be borrowed or lent with both variable and fixed interest rates. And if we look at the DeFi pulse charts, we can see that they are the 5th most active ecosystem, with Compound taking the lead with 680 million. Shortly after there, we have Maker with $624 million locked up, Synthetics with $389 million locked up, Balancer with 164, and then we have AAVE with $150 million of liquidity locked up in its protocol. However, all of the leading 4 require collateral for their loans. So AAVE's introduction of uncollateralized lending could expand its DeFi lending audience to entirely new audiences, even people that don't have crypto. Because remember, if Karen deposits the crypto, she can give her credit to Chad, and Chad doesn't even need crypto to access that new liquidity. I could now deposit credit and delegate that credit to anyone in the world and receive direct interest payments from that person. Now, the implications for this are tremendous, as we know that the mainstream financial system is in the hundreds of trillions. As you can see here, we're barely in the billions of dollars of liquidity in the whole DeFi ecosystem. So you can imagine if these types of loans start to infiltrate other more mainstream use cases, the actual activity in the AAVE ecosystem could be explosive, making potentially tens or hundreds of billions of dollars in growth over the coming decade. So you might be thinking, okay, that's cool. They're lending a lot of money, but how does that impact me? How does that impact the token? Now, it's important to remember that the Lend token is used for governance. So if you hold the Lend token, you can actually vote on changes to the underlying protocol, which is significant. And as we've seen with Compound, the Comp token, which manages their governance system, has developed a huge amount of demand and a very high price. What's very interesting about the Lend token is that 80% of the fees that are accrued by the platform are dedicated to token burns. So as the actual activity expands, the amount of tokens burned expands. Growing demand with shrinking supply. This is pretty much the holy grail for an increasing token price if you have an expanding demand and a decreasing supply. And the great thing about DeFi is this stuff's already happening. This isn't theoretical. We actually see the on-chain activity. It's provable, and we can see that it's growing not just by a little bit, but by exponential leaps and bounds. And so it should come as really no surprise here that the Lend token has been explosive in growth. As we can see, the token actually bottomed out at about half a penny, but now it's trading at one point in the last couple of days over 20 cents. But bear in mind, in the bull market of yesteryear, it actually reached a price above 42 cents. So it still has to double up just to reach its all-time high. And if it breaks through that, we could be in a period of completely unknown price discovery. And as I've mentioned many times, these bull runs, as much as they are based on logic, math, utility, they're also based on emotion. And if Lend is to break through its all-time high, which I see as highly probable given its trend over the last few months, we could see that the upward price trajectory might be pretty explosive. More importantly, as I've mentioned, the actual tokenomics stack up so that the more fees that are accrued, the higher the token should go in value, because the less and less of the token there are, and the more that you would need for each of the operations. So while you could easily look at this chart and say, wow, this thing has done way too much of a rocket, I want to see it cool off, the reality is that the DeFi explosion is here. The altcoin market caps have just exploded through tremendous resistance, and that actually altcoins in general are just tremendously bullish, and that to ignore the fact that this could be part of an altcoin super cycle of sorts would actually be, in my mind, a little bit foolish. Now, of course, do not invest what you can't afford to lose here. Again, this isn't even investment advice. I'm just sharing my opinions here, not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing with you my experience as to how things have worked in the past. And so if you are too cautious here, you're going to miss out on some of the most explosive moments of this altcoin cycle. And of course, if you're looking at what's going to be the focal point of this altcoin cycle, we know that it's DeFi. And these top coins here, these top 10 coins here, are all going to be prime targets for the explosion of value within the DeFi ecosystem, and of course, the gains in token price, which is what I know a lot of people are here in crypto land for. So in summary, The AAVE or LEND token is experiencing some pretty exponential growth here, but I believe it still has a long way to go. And if it's really the first protocol to venture into the uncollateralized loan ecosystem, well, the potential for this LEND token could be astronomical. Of course, there will be tremendous competition as DeFi has become the hottest thing since sliced bread, and there will be lots of people trying to knock off and copy the top ideas. But as we've seen before, the more trusted, more established protocols tend to be the ones that people choose, as we've seen with Ethereum, how it dominated smart contracts, even with the faster, cheaper, better alternatives that kept coming to market. ETH was the project of choice for big companies and governments alike. Personally, I know how volatile this market can be, and there very well might be some big red days in the near future. So even though I'm excited and buying a lot of coins as they start to run up, I'm also getting ready to put in more money as they potentially crash so I can take advantage of those lower prices, because I believe within the next few months, we're going to be in a very bullish altcoin cycle that I think could lead to some shocking gains, as it has in the 2017 cycle. And like I said, this one is actually bolstered even more so by real utility. And we all know that tokens exploding in price is some of the best marketing that's ever happened for the cryptocurrency ecosystem. As we saw with the explosion of popularity of social media around cryptocurrency channels in the 2017 bull run, we will see the same thing happen here in the DeFi world. And DeFi is even harder to understand than the initial ICO boom, so I think that the interest is going to be really there. And as the tokens expand in price, we'll see an expansion of the activity, and as the activity expands, it'll bolster and improve that token price, and we have a positive reinforcement cycle. So I believe that this altcoin cycle that's powered by DeFi, real utility and great tokenomics, as we've seen with Chainlink, as we've seen with AAVE, as we're going to see with other projects I'm covering like Ren and Kyber Network, we're going to see some true growth here, and I think it would be foolish to underestimate what that could look like. You want to approach this with caution, but you also want to understand the type of moment that we're in as an industry. And of course, the unprecedented environment of liquidity that has the backdrop of money printing by the Federal Reserve and cash just flooding the economy. But what's your opinion on AAVE and the LEND token? Are you holding any? Do you plan to get some? Do you think that the potential for this token is as high as I've described it? Or do you think that it's already experienced its gains and that it's time to take profits and get out? I'm very curious what the community thinks about this project, because I think that the potential here is tremendous. And now with the uncollateralized loans, it opens it up to an entirely new market. People who aren't willing to risk 1.5x their amount of loan on collateral, which is most people. So I think that the opportunity here is tremendous, as we know that the existence of bad credit, of bad loans, has the ability to create bubbles and even trigger collapses, as we've seen in the 2008 financial crisis. So with this expansion of utility comes an expansion of risk. It also comes with an expansion of opportunity. To be honest, this is one of the most exciting moments that we've experienced here in cryptocurrency land, and I hope that you guys are excited as I am. If you guys are excited, let me know by leaving me a comment in the comment section below, and of course, smashing that like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach new viewers. If you guys aren't already subscribed to FUD TV, go ahead and hit that sub button. I'll be doing my best to cover each and every project here in the DeFi space, as well as the altcoin space, as there's more altcoins beyond DeFi that are set to explode. And of course, people are going to want to cash in those gains into things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think that this is going to trigger eventually a big bull cycle in Bitcoin as well. As usual, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. My name's Elio Trades. You're watching FUD TV. Might have to be FOMO TV soon, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.